Our coverage now turns to how schools are meeting the needs of students with disabilities. As counties across the state inch closer to meeting the state's benchmarks for hybrid learning, which includes virtual and in person, the new normal is becoming more clear. We got insight from Danyelle Khmara, the education reporter at the Arizona Daily Star.
Throughout this entire ordeal, it's those children, it's been a little harder to get them all their services, but districts, I think, have really made a lot of effort in that area. I know that Tucson Unified is offering like in-person teaching for kids that are in self-contained classes. So children who are in special ed classes all day who require more one-on-one services throughout the day. So there are a limited number of classes for parents who really felt like their kids needed to be having that in-person instruction. And for parents who just don't feel ready to send their children in person, but their kids do have special needs, teachers have come a long way doing things over Zoom that you wouldn't even have thought would have been possible. Physical therapy over Zoom, speech therapy over Zoom. So from the parents I've spoken to, it's not the same, but schools are really making an effort and it is making a difference.
Given that some of these circumstances are so unique, were teachers and districts, were they ready to adapt given the short notice, especially with providing instruction to students who have unique needs?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's amazing what the schools have been able to do in such short notice. Were they ready to adapt last March when schools closed? No, they weren't, but they really rose to the occasion. Schools shifted funds to buy online devices for students who didn't have it. The schools have spent millions of dollars on devices. Schools have paid for hotspots for families who don't have internet. Schools really jumped on making sure that families have food available to them for children who really rely on their lunch and their breakfast at school. So were schools prepared? They were just as unprepared as we all were, but I think it's really been an amazing feat to watch what they've been able to do to really serve families as much as they can during this really difficult time.
Danielle, describe to us what's going on with the 9 public school districts here in Pima County. Some have opened, others have said not so fast. Give us a sense. What's the latest?
Yeah, so the 9 major school districts in Pima County, they're pretty much more or less on the same page. They have been working with the county health department, waiting for the county health department to give them the go ahead to say, okay, this area has met the benchmarks. So it's safe to start with a hybrid type learning. Some of the school districts have set tentative dates when they would like to start that hybrid learning. The first, I believe, is Sarita Unified, and they have a date set of September 17th. And so depending on, they're going to run their final plan by the county health department. Depending on what they say, it seems like they might start with a hybrid learning then. Vail follows them the next Monday. And a number of the local school districts are planning on waiting until after the fall break.
So help us understand, because the state in some respects has said X, Y, and Z county, you are ready or you have met the benchmarks. But at the local level, the county has said, hold on, not so fast.
Yeah, so the state has said that according to their benchmarks, Pima County is ready, but they've also recommended that schools rely on their local health department in making these decisions. And so the county health department has 6 additional benchmarks than what the state has. And so we're still in the red in a couple areas that have to do with testing and contact tracing. So that's where the county health department has said it's really not safe to start hybrid yet. We need to just wait and see if we continue to meet these benchmarks.
And what's the difference with private and charter schools? Some have reopened their doors, and it leaves the public school parents wondering, why do they get to go back, but we don't?
Yeah. So ultimately, even though the state set these benchmarks, they are leaving it up to individual school districts and individual schools to decide when they feel it's safe to go back. So there are some charter schools and some private schools that have opened for a more traditional in-person learning that have, children, maybe not at full capacity in classrooms, but definitely not 6 feet apart. So just a few feet apart in classrooms. And ultimately, those charters, the ones that I've spoken with, have said that they made that decision, one, because of the demand of parents to offer that in-person learning. And also they were looking at the data in a different way than the way that health officials look at it. So health officials, they don't rely on data from the last couple of weeks because that data is incomplete. So they're still cleaning it, tests are still being counted. And some of these schools, they were looking at that data from the last 2 weeks and saying, we're meeting the benchmarks, even though health officials don't rely on that data as being accurate.
In your recent reporting, you've talked to parents who are saying this cannot continue for very much longer. Districts need to hear us. Tell us about the Marana district in particular, where parents have actually staged demonstrations.
Yeah. Yeah. So last week during the school board meeting, which the school board meeting is still being held virtually, the parents gathered outside of the administration building, holding signs and really just calling for a more traditional type of in person learning to begin. Most of these parents that I talked to said that hybrid learning would be better than nothing, but they really want their kids to be in school 5 days a week. They want it to happen now. In fact, some of these parents are starting a protest, taking it directly to the county, asking that the county change the benchmarks and tell schools that they have the go ahead to start a more traditional in person learning.
Okay, Danyelle Khmara from the Arizona Daily Star. My thanks to you.
Oh, thanks so much.